hit the ground running. This is the MDN Corner.
All right, today we're going to tackle a really critical challenge in the cloud world. I'm talking about Microsoft Azure and how you can give your team the access they need, without accidentally opening the floodgates to a security nightmare. I mean, it really all boils down to this one question, right? How do you let your team build, test, and deploy their amazing stuff without just giving them the keys to the entire kingdom? Handing over the master password? No way. So, how do we grant that super specific, controlled access? Well, that's exactly the puzzle we're going to solve right now. Okay, before we jump in and start clicking buttons, we got to understand the lay of the land first. Just think of your whole Azure account like this: giant digital filing cabinet. If you know how it's organized, you'll know exactly where to put everything, and more importantly, where to put the permissions. So at the very, very top, you've got what's called the tenant. This is the big one. It's your entire organization, your whole company. Think of it like the main office building. Everything, and I mean everything, all your users, all your apps, all your data, it all lives inside this one single tenant.
Okay, so if the tenant is the building, then inside that building you've got different floors, and these floors are your subscriptions. A subscription is basically just a way to group and manage stuff, usually for billing or maybe for different departments. You might have a floor for your dev team, another one for production. You get the idea. It's a really key way to keep things organized.
And then on each one of those floors, you've got the filing cabinets themselves. And this is your resource group. It's the container that holds everything for a single project. Your VMs, your databases, storage, literally anything related. And this level, the resource group, this is where the magic happens. It's where we can get super granular with our permissions.
All right, enough with the analogies. Theory's over. Let's get our hands dirty. The very first thing we have to do is actually build one of these filing cabinets. We need to create our resource group to hold all our project stuff.
And creating one is actually super straightforward. You pretty much just point it to the right subscription, tell it which floor of the building to go on, give your new filing cabinet a unique name, and boom, you create it. Seriously, in just a few clicks, you've made a dedicated, secure little box for everything your project needs.
Okay, so we've built our container. Now it's time to start handing out the keys. In the Azure world, we do this with a system called role-based access control, or you'll hear it called RBAC all the time. This is the whole mechanism we use to make sure people only get the access they absolutely need. So once you're inside that new resource group, you're going to look for the control panel for all this stuff. It's called Access Control, or IAM. From right there, you can see who already has access, and, this is the important part, you can start the process of adding a new role assignment. Think of this as the main gate for handing out any new keys. But hold on, here's a really crucial point. Not just anybody can stroll in and start handing out keys. You yourself need to have a pretty high level of privilege. Specifically, you need to be an owner or a user access administrator on that resource. If you don't have those permissions, that Add Role Assignment button, it's just going to be grayed out. You won't even be able to click it.
Okay, now this next step, this is arguably the single most important security decision you're going to make in this whole process. You're about to decide exactly what kind of key you're giving to someone. Now, Azure has tons of different roles, but let's just focus on the three fundamental ones, the big ones you'll use all the time.
Let's just break these down really quick. First, you've got owner. That's pretty much God mode. Full control, they can do anything, and they can give access to other people. Then you have reader, which is exactly what it sounds like. They can look, but they can't touch. No changes allowed. But the contributor role, now this is where it gets really interesting. A contributor can create, manage, and even delete resources.
But, and this is the key part, they absolutely cannot grant access to other users. This is that core security principle of separation of duties right here in action. It means a contributor can build the entire house, but they can't hand out the keys to the front door. And that is a huge, huge security win. Think about a developer. They need to deploy code, but should they be managing user permissions? Probably not. The contributor role is perfect for them.
So let's bring this all together now. We've looked at the structure, we've walked through the process, and we've talked about those critical security roles. So what are the main things you really need to walk away with? Okay, here are the 4 golden rules. Number 1, always use resource groups to keep things organized. Number 2, grant permissions at the most specific level possible. So on the resource group, not the whole subscription unless you absolutely have to. Be specific. 3, stick to those built-in roles like owner, contributor, and reader. They cover most of what you'll need. And 4, this is the big one. Always start with the principle of least privilege.
Give someone the absolute minimum they need to do their job. You can always grant more access later if they need it.
And that really leaves us with one final guiding question that you should ask yourself for every single security decision you make in Azure. Before you ever click that add button on a role assignment, just stop and ask yourself this. What is the absolute minimum privilege this user truly needs to do their job? If you can answer that question honestly every single time, well, that's the foundation of a truly secure and well-managed cloud.